So, another preemptive strike. So there's this kind of narrative that is evidential, and that I admit, I do sort of highlight at points, and I do, try to put things. There's no point putting concrete evidence on the internet because it just sort of puts us all in danger. But I put like kind of vaguely indicative stuff on the internet. Not that I've got any intention, and I kind of want to make this clear. Like, I don't have any intention of. I don't really want to put anybody inside. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can avoid it. And I do feel like a massive sense of sort of, like remorse, But they do this thing where they kind of, out of desperation, do these preemptive strikes. I made a video the other day about Clopixel tablets, and it just so happened that I had like a cup on this desk that was like an empty cup, and it had like a little bit of red stuff, like squash, in the bottom of it, yeah. And I like sort of picked it up and like waved it around. They've just released a kind of story, that says something about something which is like vaguely similar in description, because they know, or they're worried that like I might make reference to it. A few weeks ago, I was like talking about clothing brands on the ward, and like I had no intention of necessarily kind of making a video about it or trying to report it or whatever. There's these brands. I'll show you one brand. There's a brand that's quite common. This one, right? Nice clothing. Quite a lot of people wear this. They have like, in Signet, Colchester and other places. What else? Like Fila clothing. New Alliance. And it's like, anyway, like there was some people wearing that, and they sort of did. I sort of talked about it on the ward, and they did this preemptive strike, where they were like, they were just sort of like, suddenly that was a topic of conversation. They do it preemptively, so that if I try and make any sort of like assertion that might expose the kind of criminal narrative, then it can be alleged that I'm just completely delusional, and that I am just copycatting what's being put online, and that like then they've got this kind of like guise of like harassment or sort of like reference that I'm making, and like half the time it's shit that I haven't got any intention of trying. Like, I kind of want to act in the spirit of peace. People do commit crimes. I fucking committed crimes, you know what I mean? Like I said in my video the other day, not everything illegal is wrong and not everything wrong is illegal. Like, I'm not a paragon of virtue. And like, I just would say, like, the thing is, somebody else might, I'm not about to pick up on that. That's not the energy that I'm bringing. That's not the kind of like, I don't really want to kind of, I'd like to, act in the spirit of peace, not war. I don't want a war. Like, I want to kind of, I want everybody, like, I was chatting with ChatGPT yesterday, like, about how I'm feeling in the situation, and it kind of said that it seemed like what I wanted was kind of mutual liberation, I understand other people have got things that, like, they want their freedom as well, like, and they want their life, and they don't want to suffer, and they don't want grief to have been for nothing, and like, I totally respect that. but somebody else might pick up on that, you know. And actually, if ever this went to a court of law, I could go through like every single one, not every one, but like all the times when there's been a preemptive strike. The other day, there was that text that I sent to a solicitor, and then straight away there was this story that was like, I like started writing this text, and I got a call back from a solicitor who was the one that I was saying that was just basically going to do fuck all. And she ended up not arriving, just never coming to the meeting. She actually put the phone down on me because I sort of started to explain that some of the corruption and sort of things I was worried about, you know. But yeah, like half the time it's stuff that I've got no intention of like trying to kind of, you know, bring up. But yeah, like within like an hour or like half an hour of like as I was writing this long text, which I read out in one of my other videos, there was another video which was all about these kind of, you know, it sort of loosely referenced it, so that if I posted it, it could then be claimed that, you know, I'd kind of just was some delusional maniac who was obsessing over somebody copying the content or the narrative of what's being said. And they sort of beat me to it. You know, they kind of cover every base that they think I might reference. You know, if I might say something, then they put it into the content of the kind of or into the narrative of the content rather. And like most of the time, it's stuff that like I don't have any intention of. It's like it's probably never going to go to court. But if it did, like, you know, these preemptive strikes kind of make you sort of grassing yourselves up in a way, you know, because like I'm probably not ever going to go through like every sort of shred of evidence and try and kind of put people into a court. Like the reason why people get called grasses is because, you know, that people with money don't go to prison normally. It's only working class people like us. I don't know if you know who my target audience is here, but do you know what I mean? Like, that's why some people don't respect the police from working class backgrounds. I grew up in a single parent on income support and child benefits and free school meals, you know, in a cardboard house in Buckfast, on an estate built just for us. But yeah, like please just try not to worry so much that you kind of make yourselves at risk of kind of sort of being exposed or like persecuted. Like it's the court of public opinion you've got to worry about, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I've got to worry about, you know? I'm not a criminal really. Like, you know, I used to sell a bit of weed when I was a teenager, and like I have like, I'm not saying I've never committed any crimes, you know, but like, you know, probably none that I'll face prosecution for. Much like yourselves, probably you won't face prosecution for like any of this shit. Much as, you know, a lot of people think that I kind of should have done. And I, you know, of course there's a part of me that thinks that, you know, they should, you know, face some sort of consequence. But yeah, just try not to kind of have these preemptive strikes. If you know, just think about it, because if I want to act in a spirit of forgiveness and reciprocity, that's all very well. You know, obviously there's other people who are kind of paying very, very, very close attention to what's happening. And every time you sort of like, you know, sort of try and kind of extrapolate this diatribe of evidential narrative to beat me to it before I do it, it's there on the internet forever. And sometimes it's like really obvious what it could refer to. And there obviously is a surveillance operation, you know, and you know, obviously they do, you know, pay very close attention to what's happening. You'd be a fool and naive to think that this is all going under the radar of like the NSA and the FBI and the CIA and the NCA and Interpol and Europol. You know, it's like, yeah, so please just let's try and act in a kind of, I know it's trite, you know, I'm hated by a lot of people, justifiably so, and a lot of the people who kind of like me, who still respect me, kind of don't want to help me because it's too dangerous, or help us, and then vice versa. There's people who kind of like hate us, you know, hate me on some grounds, but then still want to help, you know. But like, yeah, don't worry about the preemptive strikes. Like, you just half the time you're just putting yourself in jeopardy. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And like, even if I did just say that it copycatted it, I could, you know, I'm not going to. Like, I don't want to really, sort of ever have that discussion with like a lawyer or prosecution team. So yeah, just leave the preemptive strikes. Try not to worry. I know it's difficult when I'm making these videos and like, you know, it's all quite heavy, but like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just sort of like, it makes me feel a feeling of like, please don't, like, I don't know, like, just don't kind of take me for somebody who's desperately trying to kind of put everybody into a prison cell, because it's like, it is the last thing that I want to do really. But at the same time, I've got to sort of put a sort of something with some sort of like dissonant counter narrative to say that I'm being persecuted, because that, you know, sort of is right and justified, just in the same way that you try to persecute me, you know, in this spirit of self-defense. Just to round off, I made like a Venn diagram the other day, and I'm going to try and change the colour of it. It said justice in one hemisphere, and revenge in the other one, and self-defense in the other one. And self-defense and justice are both things that do sort of constitute, I think, personal rights, as I'd written in the middle. But revenge is not a personal right. Revenge is a myopic and emotionally naive concept that every single philosophical and kind of social kind of narrative of anyone who's, you know, widely concurred to have possessed wisdom sort of countenances. And thanks to the Dalai Lama as well for his Instagram post yesterday, sort of calling for compassion for all those in Gaza, all those in Ukraine, and all those suffering elsewhere. And you know, I could end this with a sort of like, with love and respect, but like, you know, it's a bit trite, isn't it? But didn't sleep very well last night either, so I've just woken up and I'm doing a video. I'm sitting down. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and don't feel the need to preemptively kind of like establish a counter narrative, because actually you're more likely to be dropping yourselves in the shit, you know, like, because somebody else might notice it and pick up on it, then the probable likelihood that I, with like a police force that's involved, psychiatric and NHS that's involved, all the banks are involved, loads of people with a kind of like an axe to grind, you know, it's probably not ever going to make it. You know, I get like 20 views, 30 views on my videos, do you know what I mean? But anyway, it's with like respect and kind of camaraderie, and in the spirit of, I don't know, peace, that I just try and say, like, just don't worry about it that much. I'm not saying that I'm never going to do anything, you know, but if possible, I'd like things to work out in a peaceful way. You don't need to keep on kind of like trying to cover every base like that. But yeah, cheers.